Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and welcome to Ahhctober, Year 3. In case you don't know, Ahhctober is where I make videos talking about horror movies. Okay, it's the same thing as usual, except it's during the month of October. All that makes this special is the time of year. Oh well. This year's sort of theme is remakes and reboots. So I guess I should start with reviewing Friday the 13th's reboot. But before I do that, allow me to identify what makes Jason's movie franchise so great to me personally. You see, at the heart of any good Friday the 13th flick is great death scenes. The series had a lot of top-notch makeup effects in the 80s that helped turn cinematic violence into an art form. Nothing else really matters to me in a Friday the 13th flick. It's all just an excuse to see some people get killed in creative ways. That's all I want to see. And Crispin Glover dancing like he's Elaine Bennis having a seizure. I want to see that too. Alright, so all you need to reboot Friday the 13th well is to make a movie with awesome Jason kills. There's no way Michael Bay's film company, Platinum Dunes, can screw that up. Okay, usually when I say something like that, it turns out they did screw up. Well, we're gonna watch this movie anyway. It's already in the DVD player. The film begins on June 13th, 1980. It's a Friday, I believe. Essentially, we're shown a flashback depicting what happened at the end of the original Friday the 13th, because that movie is never getting remade since it doesn't have Jason in it as a killer. Instead, the murderer is Jason's mama, Pamela. I mean, so many teenagers will be confused and disappointed that a movie called Friday the 13th doesn't have that one hockey mask dude in it. So instead, they gotta condense the first movie to a couple of minutes. It's pretty cut and dry. Pamela has killed a bunch of teenage camp counselors out of some misguided revenge for the drowning of her son, Jason.
It'll be easier for you than it was for Jason.
After explaining all this bullshit to the audience, Pamela is beheaded immediately. Jason isn't dead, though. I guess he was just taking a leak out in the woods. Honestly, none of the Friday the 13th movies explain where Jason is when his mom was out killing people, or why everybody thought he was drowned to death when they didn't have a body to back that up with. Okay, I'm gonna try to stop questioning the logic of this movie series, because once I start, it will be impossible to stop. Anywho, it's present day now, but let's just say 2009 to be safe. Crystal Lake is doing its job of attracting large groups of teenagers for some reason. I mean, Crystal Lake must have a top-notch tourism bureau or something. Let's not get too attached to this group of young adults, though. They're just the first group out of two groups of teenagers that appear in this movie, so they won't be lasting long, especially since their goal is to find some marijuana out in the woods.
Do you know how much money we're gonna make selling this weed?
We're gonna make a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, okay? So, listen to me. Relax.
I am relaxed. You wanna know why?
Why?
Because I wanna be fucking rich. You know what rich people do?
What?
They relax. You need to fucking relax.
They're totally screwed. Later at night, the geeky dudes apparently found Camp Crystal Lake off camera.
It's gotta be the old camp.
The geek proceeds to tell the goddamn legend of the camp that's told in every one of these fucking movies.
Some woman, she went fucking nuts. Killed all these counselors. Blamed them for her son's drowning. He was like deformed or retarded or something.
It's especially redundant since they showed a flashback explaining this shit like 5 minutes ago.
Jason, he came back.
Well, the geek gets punished for his exposition because while everybody's out having sexual relations with each other, he's busy wandering aimlessly through the woods with a glow stick and MP3 player. The one-man rave takes a leak and discovers the weed foretold in the prophecies.
Oh.
Jason arrives at the sound of this nerd going through his personal stash and proceeds to stab the kid off camera. I thought virgins survived in these movies. Anyway, that was Jason's first kill in this reboot, so it should have been something spectacular. Instead, it's just some lame stab we only hear. Tom Savini must be rolling in the grave he sleeps in at night. Not too far away, a couple of the Chillins have discovered the fabled camp of Crystal Lake where dozens of people were slaughtered because of a funny misunderstanding. The male of this duo decides to explore within one of the cabins because it's a slasher flick. They put something in the air, I don't know. Within this cabin, the kids discover a locket which holds a picture of the head that once sat upon Pamela Voorhees' body. The dude insists that this photo resembles his female companion. Yeah, they're both women. I could see a resemblance, sure. I wonder if this will be important to the plot. The next artifact discovered is Jason's bed.
Wasn't Jason the name from Wade's story?
Even scarier than that is the sex scene we're subjected to. You know, I gotta hand it to the actors in these movies. It's gotta be a real challenge to act while being naked and pretending to have sex. This mode of carnality is cut short because the chick heard something moving out in the woods.
No, go get him. Tell him to leave us alone.
I'm not gonna go out there with a boner.
We're not getting any until you do.
So it's left to the boyfriend to go out and investigate it by himself, unarmed. This reminds me of that story about the escaped mental patient with the hook hand. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, though. The tumors in my brain cause me to ramble at times. Anyhow, the guy who was getting laid investigates his way to the much-discussed weed. If only the geeky dude was alive to enjoy this moment. Jason takes a second to remind us that only you can prevent forest fires by burning the naked girl alive in her sleeping bag. Oh, I forgot to mention that the boyfriend tried to play hero, but got a bear trap to the leg. Jason, bear traps, really? That's just cheating, man. You used to follow code. You're getting sloppy in your old age. Or young age. It's a reboot. Whatever. Back at the cabin, those exploring youths discover a hole in the wall, and like anybody else, the young man sticks his hand in blindly to see what he finds. Instead of the usual family of possums, he pulls out a severed head. When that shit happens, it's time to get the fuck out. Of course, Jason's right on cue, stabbing through the floor. Jason pulls the boy down where everything floats, and the girl exits stage left. She does some respectable sprinting and returns to camp, which has been thoroughly effed in the A. The lady attempts to free one of her friends from the hunting tool, but it just wasn't meant to be. Why would you kill the guy who won't be going anywhere first? Are you kidding me? We're 24 minutes into this movie and we're just now seeing the title? I want to believe they forgot to put the title in when they were editing the opening credits, so they just slipped it in here. 6 months later, I mean 6 weeks later, you got your group of kids in a vehicle headed to Crystal Lake. This town has really nailed the teenage demographic. The kids aren't very important, of course. They're all a different type, and I'd say this movie has covered its bases pretty well. I don't know how these people come to be friends since they're so different, but hey, I guess slasher movies are trying to teach us to set aside those differences. At least when you're going to an isolated cabin. The guy you should be paying attention to is this fellow named Clay that's on a mission that doesn't involve getting high, drunk, or laid. He's trying to find his sister. You know, this lady. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Also, this dude is from that Supernatural show on CW, so you know he won't die. Just funnel all of your emotional investment into him instead of that guy that looks like Matthew McConaughey's nephew.
You okay, bro? Is everything good?
Yeah, everything's fine. Thanks. But I'm not your bro.
While the general collection of teens are doing their little antics that pad out the movie, Mr. Supernatural is continuing his investigation by asking this old lady who knows Crystal Lake has a mass murder on the loose, yet still lives there for some reason.
People go missing around here, they're gone for good. Outsiders come, they don't know where to walk. They bring trouble. We just won't be left alone, and so does he.
She really makes me miss Crazy Ralph.
You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you? God damn it, Ralph, get out of here. Go on, get! Leave people alone! It's got a death curse.
I wish they didn't kill him in part 2. The scavenger hunt takes this CW actor to the other Crystal Lake resident, a slightly deranged redneck pot dealer.
Did you want to buy some weed? Seriously, I just found a fucking shit ton of it growing out there, a little bushel.
Okay, he's pretty much stabbed right through the bottom of the barrel with this search, especially since it leads him back to the group of teens who are just here for a trip.
Hey. No luck?
No, not yet.
This guy might as well just stop searching at this point. This girl named Jen offers him some break time in the cabin. Trent here doesn't take kindly to the guy from Supernatural being in his cabin and at his party.
Look, Clay, obviously, she's just trying to be nice, but you can't stay here. No offense, but this is a private party. I don't know you.
No, you don't know me.
That's so funny, I just said that. Like 2 seconds ago, that I don't know you. I would probably leave soon before I get pissed off and...
I think it's pretty obvious, but this Trent guy is only an asshole as a way for the writers to manipulate the audience into cheering when he dies. His dickishness is too cartoony and irrational to be taken seriously. Anyway, Trent's temper tantrum causes his girlfriend to run off with Clay, a guy she just met. Can you blame her? He's slightly more famous. It's been a while since Jason's last killed somebody, so we return to that redneck pot dealer. He needs a lot of luck selling that pot around here. Actually, he doesn't need to, since Jason arrives to get his Mary Jane back. It really does seem like Jason is trying to protect his pot plantation in this movie. Actually, what if Jason is really a group of drug dealers that use the Jason legend to scare people away from Crystal Lake and their huge drug stash like a villain from Scooby-Doo? Whenever somebody gets close to their pot farms or meth labs, one of the dealers puts on an elaborate Jason costume and slaughters the intruders. Jason always seems to come back because he's multiple people, probably on PCP. Am I blowing your mind? Okay, probably not, since none of what I said made any sense, and it doesn't explain the plots of movies like Jason X. But what if it was true, huh? Huh? That would be pretty crazy, right? Okay, I'm super off track. We reached the moment we've all been waiting for. Jason finds his mask in a pile of junk. Really? They couldn't come up with a better new origin for Jason's hockey mask? Why couldn't Jason fight some big hockey player and keep the dude's mask as a trophy? Sure, it would be stupid, but it would at least have a bit more impact. Jason takes a moment to check himself out. Jason is so full of himself. At the actual Crystal Lake, a couple of the kids are boating. Well, it does involve some topless water skiing. Man, this movie's trying too hard with the teenage promiscuity. I mean, I guess if they couldn't get the kills right in this Friday the 13th movie, they might as well put in a lot of nudity to make up for it. The half-naked chick wipes out, but that's heaven compared to what happens to her male counterpart. Is Green Arrow on the loose in these woods? Nope, just Jason. Where'd he get the bow? The lady in the lake spots Jason, who pulls out Ahhctober. Elsewhere, Jen and Clay have discovered Camp Crystal Lake and explore it without a bit of hesitation. I'm getting deja vu here. Back at the murder in progress, the topless girl is hiding under a dock with Jason searching. Then Jason just stabs her in the head. It really seems like the director doesn't know how to build suspense. Meanwhile, at Camp Crystal Lake, it's suddenly night. What is this, Evil Dead 2? Wow, Jen and Clay really took their time exploring this place. Of course, the last cabin they search is the evil, scary one that Jason lives in. Jen's enormous weight causes her to crash through one of the floorboards, so they end their visit here right away. As they leave, Jason arrives home with another corpse to bring to Mommy. Then Jason notices the backpack left by Clay. Pissed off about someone leaving their shit on his property, Jason turns on the floodlights. It's amazing that the 30-year-old power generator at Camp Crystal Lake is still running. Jason's search for future dead people proves fruitless, so he moves on. Clay decides that he wants to follow the deranged wild man, but luckily he has Jen to stop him from doing things that are retarded. So instead they run away. Deep down in Jason's subterranean lair, we discover he has a bit of a Silence of the Lambs situation going on. You see, Jason's keeping Clay's sister nice and safe in his Batcave. While using the grindstone to improve his machete's stats, he remembers his mom's beheading and goes all Charles Foster Kane on his room. You see, Jason's convinced Whitney here is his mom on a youth potion, which is why Jason hasn't killed her yet. I don't know why Jason thinks Whitney's his mom. She's not even wearing a sweater. Jason leaves, allowing Whitney a chance to break out of her chains. She escapes through Jason's wine cellar and reaches sweet freedom. While this occurs, Clay and Jen finally return to Trent's cabin.
Where is everybody? There's a guy out there carrying a dead body.
Oh no, a dead body! Clay alerts the police, who will apparently send over guys.
I said they're sending someone.
Jen tries to warn Trent and Bree, but they're too busy with the mandatory sex scene.
You got perfect nipple placement, baby.
Jason is just in time to see the show, but is distracted by a distant tool shed. Inside the shed is a stoner kid playing with stuff. He bumps into Jason and shows no fear towards the giant stranger.
Are you looking for this? Cause it completes your outfit.
Upon hearing that stupid fucking joke, Jason attacks the kid. Out of all the killing instruments at Jason's disposal in this tool shed, Jason just kills the guy with a screwdriver in the throat. It seems like this Jason is just setting out to disappoint. Whitney is still running and makes it just in time to see the end of the sex scene, but Jason grabs her before she gets a good look. At that moment, the cabin's power is mysteriously cut. Lawrence decides to go outside by himself with nothing but a pot to protect himself with. You know, the original Friday the 13th films had weak writing, but the writing in this movie is just offensively bad. It's like the characters in this movie are totally suicidal. Well, eventually, Larry makes it to the shed where he meets Jason. They have a bit of a rumble and Larry runs away. Of course, he doesn't account for Jason's dead-on axe-throwing skills. I feel sorry for Larry. If it wasn't for horrible writing, he would have lived. So now we're down to a bunch of white people in a cabin. How did Jason get up there so fast? Bree is upstairs, looking for Jason, but Jason finds her instead. Jason kills her by sticking her back onto a hook thing. Like that hasn't been done before. Man, this Jason has no edge. Luckily, the only cop in Crystal Lake shows up just in time to save everybody. Oh shit, I guess not. He was one day away from retirement, too. Clay and Jen find Trent upstairs with a gun. Trent makes effective use of the bullets by firing wildly in all directions. The trio exits the cabin, but Trent splits from the group. I mean, Jason is more likely to chase 2 people than just 1, right? Well, Trent runs into a truck but hesitates to get in it right away. I guess since Trent recently got laid, he takes priority on Jason's death list. Okay, you know what? That was a pretty good Jason kill, I have to admit. If only the rest were as good as that, then we'd have a movie on our hands. Clay and Jen find themselves at a spooky, dilapidated building. They feel compelled to go inside for unexplained reasons. It does lead them down into Jason's death tunnels, where Clay is reunited with his sister, Whitney. This happens just as Jason comes home, and boy is he tired of this happening twice in one night. Clay and Whitney climb through a hole, but Jen has served her purpose in life and is killed by Jason. We don't need 2 survivor girls in this movie. Clay gets out of Jay's tunnel and tries to get his sis out too, but Mr. Mask pops in to stop it. Note how Jason crashes Clay's head in a window but makes no further attempt to kill him. It's almost as if Jason isn't allowed to kill him. Jason goes back into his Minecraft tunnel to find Whitney, but instead finds her foot in his face. Whitney gets away with her brother, who really should have died. They wander off into a barn because it's raining. Oh, and to get away from Jason too, I guess. Jason makes his dramatic entrance and there's some fighting that leads to some nice Fargo wood chipper action. Though Whitney chimes in, forcing Jason to cut that shit out.
It's okay. You can stop now. It's okay.
Clay chains the big guy up and he gets hung. He's not going without a fight, though. Eventually, the wood chipper pulls him in, but he's still not letting up. So Whitney offers some motivation.
Say hi to Mommy. In hell!
Huh, wow. So Jason's actually dead. They even give him a proper burial at Lake instead of getting the hell out of there. There really is no way Jason can come back after that. If he did, I'd be caught really off guard. There's no way, though. Nope. Oh shit, they got me! Well, I guess that's it. Hey, it's been a while since one of these movies ended with a jump scare. That was Friday the 13th. I think it's clear what my problem with this movie was. There are few murders in this flick that are up to classic Jason's standard of quality. I also really feel like there's too much focus on trying to nail the non-slasher elements of the old films, like teenage wild antics and gratuitous nudity. It's pretty obvious those were the only things on the minds of the filmmakers. That and giving the supernatural guy a movie vehicle. He's pretty out of place next to everyone else in the cast. Still, I'm not saying this movie is bad or anything. I do think Jason looks kind of cool, and I do have to hand it to the interesting take on Jason killing people in an outdoorsman kind of way. It's like he's trying to get merit badges for killing people. I give Friday the 13th Part 12 a CW actor out of Jason's weed. Where's Paul?
It's not me. This guy's being a dick.
Yeah, it's me. Obviously, I'm the one being a dick.